Hi guys, Random here, back with a bit more World of Warships. Yes, another episode for our new captains that are joining us. Today, we're going to continue on from the last episode I did, and we're going to look at cruisers. Yeah, last time we looked at destroyers. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. And we discussed the various, shall we say, traits of each nation's line. So today we're going to have a look at the cruisers, and we're going to just see where they sit. Okay, right, we're going to be talking in very general terms. There are exceptions to the rule. I will show you one of those. No, in fact, I'll show you a couple, just to demonstrate that, you know, occasionally you do get thrown an oddity, but as a whole, this is kind of how they go. So we'll start with the Japanese. This is the tier 5. We're going to go mid-tier on all the different ships, because by then the traits have actually come out, and you know, you can recognise them. Tier 1 ships are just pew pew fun. Tier 2, 3, generally pretty poor. By the time you get to tier 4, tier 5, you're starting to get a taste of what the nation's line is going to be like. So, Japanese, Furutaka, or the Furry Taco, or yeah, Furious Taco if you prefer. Japanese cruisers, well, generally speaking, Japanese cruisers have very slow turning guns. They are generally quite slow. The range on them is not fantastic, but they do have torpedoes. So you've got torpedoes on pretty much all the Japanese cruisers up from tier 3. Yeah, they're normally pretty good. They are pretty good. Japanese cruisers, however, tend to have a bit of a drawback when it comes to nimbleness. They're generally quite quick, but they don't turn particularly well, and their turning circle is quite large. That said, you do get decent sized guns, 203mm guns on the upgraded hull here, 200s on the unupgraded, so you do get nice guns compared to the 152s that everyone else is stuck with until tier 7, I think. You can get these on tier 5. So I would recommend these as a ship for somebody who likes to play a bit of a strategic game. Now, as with all cruisers, if you sit broadside onto anything, you are going to get lots and lots of damage. You do have to be a little bit careful how you position. You want to be kind of that kind of angle, and no more than that really. But it does mean that you won't get all of your guns to bear all the time. So, you know, think about how you're playing. If you're getting sunk a lot, have a look and see if you look like that to the enemy. If you do, that's why. Okay, moving on to the American cruisers. Right, the Omaha. Now then, American cruisers, not particularly sneaky, generally. The concealment tends to be a little bit worse than others. Manoeuvrability wise, they're generally the slow end of things, yeah. So if we look at the Furutaka there, they're quite quick. 34.5 knots there. You can put a speed flag on that, make it a bit quicker. The Omaha, 34 knots, not as quick. The artillery tends to be a little bit further reaching, so you've got a better range than the Japanese at tier 5. As the game goes up the tiers, you'll find that the range on the Jap ships gets quite good. With the American ones, not so much. American cruisers, what are they really good at? Anti-aircraft. Yep, generally the anti-aircraft rating on an American cruiser is better than that of its other nation peers. Torpedo wise, yeah, you've got an oddity here at tier 5 in that you do have torpedoes on the Phoenix and the Omaha, so the tier 4 and the tier 5. Then you don't get them. Yep, they disappear. You can get torpedoes on the tier 7 premium, the Atlanta, but other than that, nope, no torpedoes. Now there is a tech line split coming. The American cruisers are all light cruisers, really, until you get kind of at the top end, and then you get a bit of armour. I think it's splitting at tier 6, I think, is where they're going to split it, and you'll have light and heavy cruisers. So yeah, light cruisers, so called because they have the smaller caliber guns. The heavy cruisers all have the 203mm guns, so yeah, you can dish out a bit more damage with them. Again, don't sit broadside, bad idea. American cruisers you want to keep as bow on to the enemy as you can. Really, they don't take a lot of damage, these things. They are quite thinly armoured. We'll move on to the Russians. The Russians, yes, fast ships. That's what you will learn about the Russians. Their cruisers do pootle along quite quickly. The guns tend to be quite flat arcs, so you don't go up. The Americans tend to have quite a high arc, the Russians not so much. And these are like laser guns. They are very, very good. Not as quick reloading as the Americans, but you'll find they're quite effective. The ship itself, although it's quick, it's not very nimble. No, big turning circle, slow rudder shift. So these are kind of a fast attack vessel. You know, you want to sail between something like that quickly, get your shots off, get behind cover again, reposition, maybe come out the other side, maybe come back, who knows. The turning on the guns on the American, generally pretty quick. On the Japanese it's slow. On these it's kind of in the middle. They're not quick firing, quick turning guns. They're reasonable, but they're not fast. You do tend to get torpedoes on Russian cruisers. Range is generally pretty poor. I mean, on this it's 4 kilometers, so yeah, danger close. But if you are YOLOing in for a battleship kill, then yeah, you might get it with them. Okay, concealment wise, again, not very sneaky. Quite big boats. They are quite big boats, so you will get spotted from further away than maybe one of the other ships we're mentioning here today. Looking at the Germans, yes, the Königsberg. German cruisers. What can we say about German cruisers? They're generally quite good fire starters. Yeah, generally quite good fire starters, generally quite good range. Speed, not so much. They're quite slow in comparison to other ships of the same tier. But they're generally quite mediocre as well when it comes to handling, like turning circle and rudder shift aren't the best. But you do have good range, so use that range. Same with the Russians, actually. Use the range. That tends to be the secret in making those two nations work in their cruiser line. Once you get higher tier, the German cruisers are quite nice. They're quite heavy. The armour's quite good, so you can, angle and deflect shots and stuff. So yeah, I'd recommend the German and the Russian line for those that like to play a bit of range. moving through to the British cruisers. Now the British cruisers are made out of tin foil. Virtually no armour whatsoever. You do get a couple of unusual things on these though. Okay, first off, you get a smoke screen. Yeah, a smoky screen. I think it's from tier 4 up, might be tier 5 up. You get the smoke screen, and from tier 4 I believe up you get the repair party as well. So you can do some damage mitigation with that. If you get caught broadside onto something, chances are you're not going to live long enough to actually hit the button to repair. But if you're like this, then yeah, you might have a chance to get some of your health back. You've got smoke screen, you've got hydroacoustic, so you can sit in your smoke where your hydro going, so you can see any torpedoes coming, and you can keep pewing at people. Yeah, they're nice ships. The really weird thing is you do not get high explosive ammunition. You only get semi-armour piercing. Now, semi-armour piercing is peculiar ammunition. You are not going to set any fires with it. The fuse timer is shorter, so if you are shooting at destroyers, whereas with armour piercing in, say, the Veritacco would over penetrate it, with the British ones, generally it doesn't. Generally you do some decent damage. So it's, I don't know, it's a strange line to get used to. Once you do get used to it, you'll have some fun. But yeah, don't expect the British ships to play the same as the rest, because they don't. The nearest thing to them is these, the French ships. Again, very thinly armoured, but you can make that work to your advantage. Yeah, you get lots of over penetration, so you only get 10% of the damage that you should do. So you can use these. Now, the French armour layout can be a little bit strange. There is some kind of spaced armour witchcraft going on with some of these ships, which can be a little bit odd if you're shooting at them and you're finding that you're getting no damage. That could be why. French ships are generally the fastest, I think. Yeah, it's going to be a close run thing between these and the Russians. But the French ships also get a speed boost, which you can choose, I think, from tier 6 up. Let's have a quick look. Galation Air. Yep, engine boost. There we go. So from tier 6 up, you can get your speed boost, and that can make these things massively quick. Okay, on this particular one, you've got above average range. It's not great, but certainly are worse in the game. Once you start getting up the tiers, you can get spotter planes, which can help your range. And yeah, again, you know, fast, tight turning circle. Rudder shift's not brilliant, but you might be able to upgrade that. Tier 6 and up, you can put the rudder shift module on, and that can make these things really nimble. So yeah, if you like being a bit more aggressive, shall we say, then the British and French ships aren't bad for that. You know, they aren't bad for it, but you do have to bear in mind you are quite delicate. Now then, the oddities. Right, you remember what I was saying about the Russian ships? Here's an oddity. The Krasny Krem. Now this is in the premium store, and it is covered in 130mm destroyer guns. Yeah. So yeah, basically what happens is you shoot at the sky, and at some point much later on the shells come back down. Okay. It's It's nice if you can get behind an island. It's nice if you can get in a smoke screen or something like that, because your destroyer guns are so small that when you fire them, oh wow, you go at 6.6, really? So that's interesting. I would have said that under the new way it was working, you get the same penalty as the destroyer and only go at like 2.5. But oh, interesting. I've learnt something. But yeah, your destroyer guns are pretty much reliant on fires for causing damage. But it can be an interesting ship to play, put it that way. But it's very, very different from the rest of the line. Same as the Graf Spee. Now, the Graf Spee is a basically a battle cruiser. You know, it's a cruiser with cruiser armour, battleship guns. Interesting. Now, what is even more interesting is with this particular ship, you do get the repair party. So, yeah, you get a AA consumable, which you can swap out for hydroacoustic if you prefer. You get a catapult fighter, and you get your repair party. So this is one of the few cruisers that isn't British at lower tiers to get this. The guns themselves are 11-inch guns and will make mincemeat out of cruisers. If you get a good profile, like, you know, proper full-on broadside battleship, and you're close enough, then you're going to do some decent damage. But don't expect to be picking off battleships at range with these. You're not going to get thousands of citadels and stuff. So yeah, you know, cruiser hunter is basically what it is. It's what it was built for, and it's what it is very good at. Just going out of the tech tree and into some of the premiums, you've got the Italian, you've got the Duca d'Aosta, which is a tier 6, so just one up from the tiers we've been looking at. This is just too good looking to shoot at, I'm afraid. Yeah, if the enemies shoot at this, they're Philistines. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's a really interesting boat to play. It's fast, it's manoeuvrable, it's got good guns. Armour isn't bad, it's not great, it isn't bad. Yeah, if you enjoy playing in cruisers, you'll probably very much enjoy this particular ship. The other one to keep an eye out for is the Perth, which is basically a Leander, a tier 6 British ship, but it's got a peculiar smoke screen. Yeah, in that it drops a puff of smoke which lasts 10 seconds. However, in this you can sit at quarter throttle and just drive. Yep. For 90 seconds it will produce smoke, and you will sit in a travelling smoke screen. So yeah, it's another interesting one, especially considering you do have the spotter aircraft as well. So you can sit in your smoke, spot stuff, and just laugh. You do have torpedoes. It is fun. It is a fun ship. Keep an eye out for that. You know, they've taken it out the store for the moment because of the smoke changes, but I would say when it comes back, keep an eye out for it, and if you see it on sale, pick it up, because it's an interesting boat. It really is. It's just a shame at the moment it's in the Commonwealth tech tree, and that means that, yeah, you need to have Commonwealth only captains, which is a bit of a pain, but never mind. So there we go, guys. That's the cruiser flavours. Give you an idea of where you're going with the tech trees in each branch. So what I would say to you is pick a branch that sounds like your playstyle, okay? And if by the time you get to tier 5 you find you're not enjoying it, do a different one. Leave that branch, do a different one. You can always go back to it. They're not going to disappear. Just go and try a different branch. So if you find that you like to be, you know, playing at arm's length, then maybe try the Russian or the Germans. If you find you like to be up close and personal a bit, then maybe think about the British or the French. And if you're finding that you just like playing big destroyers, try the try the Japanese with the torpedoes there. Yeah, and if you're getting lots of carriers in your games, then obviously the Americans are the AA one. But yeah, see how you get on. Use that as a little bit of a guide and choose your line. So, hope you enjoyed it, guys. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, then the old subscribe button's there. If you enjoyed it, then the like button loves a little tickle. And don't forget the comment section there. If you've got any questions or want to let me know anything, then tap it down in the comment section, and I'll be quite happy to respond to you. But that's quite enough from me for now. So yeah, just remains me to say thank you ever so much for watching, guys, but I will see you again in the next one. For now, it's Captain Random signing off. Take care. See you again soon.